Hello, and welcome back to Always the Horizon by Murdoch, as read by Livid Productions. Chapter 10, The Red Dragon. For weeks I have had an uneasiness about me, a feeling that danger lurks in the shadows that line our path. Have you noticed the men in the shadows too, Ryder? Perhaps it is just my imagination. It has been 2 days since we ran out of the bread that was given to us with tremendous love by those freed villagers, and though we still have water, we are left wanting without wine. I stop as I hold out my hand. Wait! There, out in the brush. Something is watching us. Suddenly I see movement from the corner of my eye, followed by a quick jolt of pain in my shoulder. I go to reach for the wound and retrieve, to my horror, an arrow tipped with black tar. Some type of poison? I look to you with great concern as my legs begin to wobble. Ryder, I believe we have been poisoned. Before I can finish my sentence, we collapse to the ground. There is only black. I dream of dragons and goblins. The world slips away and I sleep. Eventually I open my eyes ever so slightly. We must have been out for days with such a potent dose of whatever that was. Suddenly my vision focuses and I see before me a campfire. There, a man and a Semitic goblin sit cooking something in a pot. The goblin mutters out,
"The contract says you kill this ugly, then you get paid. Why you keep alive?"
The man sips his soup and pauses, and then lets out, "I will fulfill the contract, but under my own terms." Finally, I see you, Ryder, just before I lose focus again and drift back into sleep. I feel the warm heat of the sun which wakes me. Before I open my eyes, I hear more chatter between the two. Then suddenly I am smacked in the face. My eyes open to find my hands bound. I look up and see before me a man of the Orient, carrying a backpack which houses the Semitic goblin. As I lay on the ground, the goblin spits on me and cries out,
"He lived too long already."
The Oriental man looks out at our surroundings. It is an empty field. No trees or hills can be found in this flat plain which stretches for miles. The goblin snarls and yells once more.
"We traveled 3 days out here for what?"
Finally, the Oriental man replies, "This here will be a good spot." He takes off the backpack carrying the goblin and begins unbuckling the various tools and contraptions built into his gear. I lie still on the ground. I watch as the goblin makes its way to you, Ryder, and pulls out a small dagger. The goblin spits on you and says,
"No funny business, or you killed by me."
The Oriental man finally removes his cloak to reveal his red armor. In an instant, he unsheathes his Jean Madao blade as he walks towards me. Ryder, I suppose this is the end. Not quite the glorious exit befitting a sacred clown I had imagined, but I suppose it will do. Suddenly, he brings the blade up. My eyes look to the sun as I whisper a prayer. And before I can finish, it is brought back down with tremendous force. To my surprise, it was not my head which was severed, but rather the ropes that bound my hands. I look to him as he speaks to me. "Get up." The goblin screams out,
"What you doing? The contract! The contract!"
The Oriental man looks back to the goblin in frustration, saying, "Soon. Now shut your mouth and allow me to finish this the way it must be done." I finally stand as he looks back to me, saying, "My name is Liu Bei. I am an assassin of the Red Dragon, the Han." He smiles and holds his hand out to shake mine. I do not move, but remain staring into his eyes. He maintains his smile as he states, "I understand you will probably not engage in chivalry, as you are a Western barbarian, but this day is very important for me, so I will attempt to show you grace before I make you non-existent. My eyes remain on his until he looks away, stating, "How many centuries now have the Western imperious dogs hounded my motherland, that which is under the heavens? I have come here because I have been tasked by my state to prevent you from reaching your destination. For I am told, if you manage to wake the sleeping giant, my people's cause will be set back greatly. Something about nihilism and meaning?" He laughs as he shakes his head, stating, "You Western dogs are so funny. You should stop asking stupid questions and learn to simply be. Your nations now endlessly debate about nothing. Your populations are quickly becoming something rather different. Do not fear. We do not come to enslave you, the way you enslaved the world with your capitalistic frenzy. No, we shall show you how to truly be. For China is ascendant. You have been eclipsed." I finally speak. "We have been poisoned by the Semitic impulse. You too were poisoned, but you do not yet see it." The goblin shrieks,
Just kill him already! Now! You kill this ugly now!
Liu Bei's eyes turn to mine as he stares. "Your jealousy of the Shemite is very interesting. We unlike you savages have learned from them. The future of mankind will be enlightened by the philosophy of Marx and liberated by the order of the Chinese yoke." I gnash my teeth and call out, "It was Marxism that led to the deaths of millions of your own kind. They're merely moving from one host to another." Liu Bei begins to pace around me. He finally replies, "I am not here to debate. I am here to engage in sacred combat with you, someone who calls himself the last son of the West." My eyes remain on his as I let out, "I am not your enemy. But if you wish for combat, then so be it. Alas, I do not wield a weapon, and so I suppose our battle will be unfortunately quick." Liu Bei smiles as he tosses his Zhanma Dao blade several yards away. Finally, he lets out, "I have come to prove that you have been eclipsed. For in my career as an assassin, I have far too often killed from the shadows. I have ended men before they even knew they were in danger. But here must be different. It is here, in this sacred combat, where I will show the world that the Aryan is below the Han. I will become the Earth's champion, not with tricks or subterfuge, but with sheer determination and skill. I have brought you out here so that there will be no hiding, no high ground to give one an advantage, no rivers to escape through. Just this battlefield that has long awaited us." As soon as I pull my fists up to prepare my stance, Liu Bei is already in the air. In an instant, his foot lands directly on my chest, sending me flying back. Blast! I am but a rogue. Where is my dagger? What do I know of unarmed combat? I quickly return to my feet and realize that he has disappeared completely. I look around, left, and right, when out of nowhere his fist lands directly into my guts from below. My blood spills out onto the earth as if the dirt were a painter's canvas, and I fall back barely catching myself. He continues his assault, landing blow after blow. Suddenly, I am thrown once more to the ground. Liu Bei begins laughing. "This is the last hope of your kind. This is what we have so long feared. Do you know of Sun Tzu's art of war? No, surely you mustn't. Allow me to give you proper schooling, Aryan." I limp back onto my feet, blood pouring from my nose. A few of my ribs are definitely cracked, but it's nothing that nymphs can't heal. Liu Bei tilts his head to the side as he begins again. "Lesson 1. Do not repeat the tactics which have gained you one victory, but let your methods be regulated by the infinite variety of circumstances. He changes his stance and begins pummeling my face with his wrists and elbows. All I can do is attempt to shield my body from the onslaught of blows. Then suddenly, Liu Bei stops with the offensive. I lower my arms just in time to see him change his stance once more. Before I can even throw a punch, he lands a spinning kick across my jaw, sending me flying several yards. I lay on the ground crawling, to where, I do not know, before the full weight of Liu Bei's boot comes crashing down on my arm. He studies my red, white, and blue bandana wrapped around my wrist, and then bends down and removes it from my possession. He looks over the flag of my fatherland and states, "You aren't even trying. I desire from you sacred combat. I require glory, just as any man does. And you would deny it to me here on my special day. Perhaps we must get a rise out of you. Lesson 2. Begin by seizing something which your opponent holds dear. Then he will be amenable to your will." He rips my red, white, and blue in two. The hate begins to grow. The wild man begins to manifest. This Liu Bei is very different than I. In my youth, I chased girls before I chased the sun. I am but a rogue, who has long lurked in the shadows, relying on my guile and cunning. I am no brawler, only ever engaging in pub fights once or thrice. This Liu Bei of the Red Dragon has from his very youth been forged into a weapon of the Han. He has been trained in multiple forms of martial arts and raised on a diet of steroids and biogenetic engineering since childhood. He is among the first of the Chinese overmen. He has never known freedom, as I have known it. Even in my decaying West, I remember a freedom undreamt of in man's history. But this Liu Bei has only known order. Order manifests like a crystal, harnessing the power of light, a focused energy which can bring about mass development or destruction. The centralized power of order can be put to use for good or evil, for beauty or ugliness, for the knowing or the unknowing. Tell me, writer, do the communists create goodness and beauty? I charge at him and he quickly dodges. Every punch I throw meets only the air, and each one is returned in kind with several strikes to my face. I can barely see out of my left eye, as it is nearly swollen shut. I walk aimlessly from left to right, punching into the wind. Liu Bei begins to laugh. I think of my weakness. I think of that little girl's face from the graveyard, and the hate holds back the pain. In his overconfidence, he has left himself open. I have one shot. The hate erupts into chaos, and the chaos is unleashed as I throw everything into a single punch. He only realizes the danger after I have made contact. Liu Bei flies through the air and crashes to the ground, dazed. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to harness the hate, to let go and become the berserker. I charge him, drunk on fury, landing blow after blow, my body filled equally with love and hatred. Just as I'm about to land my final strike, he suddenly regains his composure and catches my fist in his own, throwing me yards away onto the soil. This time, I land on my feet. Liu Bei looks up at me in amazement. His hand explores his face as he realizes that he can bleed. I call out to him. The Han and the Aryan don't have to be enemies. I wish only to unite the Aryan tribes. We must work together to aid beings knowing. He spits out blood to the ground and cries out, "When you white men came, you aided drug traffickers. You poisoned my people. You enslaved large swaths of humanity's population with your colonialism. You are barbarians." I give no pause in reply. Man is a wolf to man. Great acts of unkindness run deep in all of our histories. Or have you forgotten the corpses that rest in your great wall? You are not my enemy, Liu Bei. You are only another aspect of being. We are both capable of the knowing. Liu Bei charges me with deadly agility, finally launching himself into a flying kick which breaks several of my ribs. I kiss the earth once more. I am beginning to break down. Hate alone cannot keep a heart beating. I cannot realistically win this fight. Even if I may injure him, he ultimately will win. I look to the sun above and smile. Strange how the satisfaction lingers. However, giving up completely seems a little unbecoming of a sacred clown. I am about to push myself up off the ground, when suddenly the Semitic goblin jumps on my back, flailing its dagger around dangerously close to my neck. I roll around and wrestle with the creature when, from nowhere, the goblin is picked up and tossed several yards away. Liu Bei stands above me and states, "I told you, this is my fight, you stupid, ugly goblin. Get up, Crown." As soon as I stand, he begins his next assault. As I can no longer hold my arms up to defend, he lands every blow, breaking bones and pounding my organs until I am thrown down once more. I pathetically attempt to get back up, as Liu Bei screams out, "Do you see? This is the master race. You have failed. The earth shall be made beautiful under the heel of the red dragon. The age of the West is over. The age of the East begins. You submit to me. Say it, you rash son of the West. Say it. Tell me I am the master race." Suddenly a blade thrusts through Liu Bei's chest. Liu Bei looks down, and then looks over his shoulder, where the Semitic goblin leers at him with a vile gaze, pushing the dagger ever deeper. I call out to Liu Bei, "Perhaps Sun Tzu should write a lesson on the backstabbing nature of the Jew." The goblin cuts the throat of Liu Bei, and then quickly scampers my way, but right before it reaches me, is cut in two, falling between my legs in a heap of gore. I look up and find you, Rider, wielding Liu Bei's Zhan Ma Jiao blade. With the last of my strength, as I cough up bits of blood, I mutter, "You beautiful bastard," and then everything is dark again.